Hello everybody and welcome to another video. And now today I would like to talk to you about Iapetus or Iapetus. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's close to that. Now, this is a band I'd never heard of before until a couple of weeks ago when I took some time off because I'd lost my voice. They emailed me and asked me if I wouldn't mind checking out their newest album that's coming out on November 9th called The Body Cosmic. So I was very intrigued. You know, it's always nice when a band reaches out and asks you to talk about their upcoming music. It's something I very much enjoy doing, and you know, I feel very privileged to get asked. Anyway, having never heard of them, you know, I asked about some information about the band and had a bit of a look around myself, and it turns out that Iapetus is the third largest natural satellite of Saturn and the 11th largest natural satellite in the entirety of our solar system. That has nothing to do with the band, but it does kind of. The actual band themselves, Iapetus, are a two-man atmospheric progressive mellow death project coming from New York. And, you know, I got to tell you something, the music is amazing. You know, I listened to this album a lot when I was asked to write a review of it. I did write a review of it. There's a review of it on my Facebook page if you want to go and check that out. So what I thought I'd do today is I'll check out the track that they released from the album called Creatures Such As We. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, For Creatures Such As We. And, you know, I'll talk about that track. Obviously, I have heard the song before. We'd look at the track, have a listen to it. I do actually have lyrics for that track. We'll talk about the track, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the album as a whole, because it is an absolutely fascinating piece of work, and something I think definitely needs a lot more recognition, because it is so very interesting. So anyway, we're going to be looking, as I said, at a track called For Creatures Such As We by Iapetus. Iapetus? I still don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, we're going to have a look at that track. It's quite a long track. It's over 12 minutes long, but it was worth it, in my opinion. So we'll jump straight to that, I think. So we've got For Creatures Such As We by Iapetus. Let's go. going to pause it there for a minute because, like I said, this is a fairly long song, and I'm going to just talk you through a couple of the lyrics here. Now, what I will say at first is this album, The Body Cosmic, is actually a concept album, and from the start to the end of the album, it's talking about basically the life cycle of the universe, essentially. Like, from the very early stages, like the very first track is like essentially the Big Bang, and the second to last track, the penultimate track, is about the essential death and destruction of the universe, with the final track talking about the rebirth of the universe, and the whole cycle starts again. So, give you some idea what this is about. Now, the vocals, I think, are just so brilliantly done, and it's such an unusual combination as well, because it almost sounds a little bit like All That Remains, but throughout the music there's also, throughout the rest of the album, there's elements of other bands like Opeth thrown in there, and there's such a mixed bag of music from this album. It's fantastic. Anyway, the song goes: Life giver, burn bright, sear flesh from bone and boil blood in veins, gild this glass heart, fuel I am, chase away the darkness, dancing flames on chariots ride, to unmake the absence, to drown out the stars. Life giver, give life, reach out, stretch across infinity, to infinity, from infinity. Ribbons of flame across the void, yellow tendrils grasp at cosmic straws, defy the universe to grant us sight. So, it's essentially talking about the creation of, or this seems to be talking about the creation of life on Earth. As I said, the entire album is talking about the life cycle of a galaxy, universe, what have you. So, it goes from the creation of the planet to, primitive life, and then it goes on to the creation of humanity. I think this is track 4 off the album, I think, might be. Anyway, and there was then a very quietly spoken line that you can barely hear. It says, gild this glass heart before it breaks, and then in came this female vocalist, with the lines: an elegant orbit, two bodies as one, gravitational caress, a waltz of fire to scorch the abyss. That seems to be talking about probably the sun orbiting the Earth. Well, the Earth orbiting the sun, should I say. God, where am I? The 12th century? So that's that bit. Then it goes back into the harsher vocals saying, life giver, shine light, set a fire to this corner of this world, rid the shadows from these eternal walls, vanquish the monster of this design, reveal the path from you to I, open the sky, travel the distance, and I will make us whole. I steal a molten kiss from the cosmos, I suck the flaming air from your open lungs. You give what you are, I take what I am. A celestial merchant, I am nothing, with nothing to trade, I am alone. So, this is possibly talking about even the first human on the planet. It'd be a bit arrogant to say the first man, but the first human on the planet. That's what it seems to be talking about. And as I said before, I really like this music. I love this album. It is fantastic. Let's carry on. And there you go. For Creatures Such As We by Iapetus. It's like the song that never wanted to end, isn't it? I mean, not that it's a bad thing. I think it's a fantastic piece of music. It's just like, as soon the moment you think it's going to end, it carries on. But like I said, I absolutely love this piece of music. There's so much variation through it. I mean, when we came back into the song, it said, "Your light wanes, your energy expires. I've taken too much. Engulfed entirely by what I've desired, your death will be the death of us both. But my heart, it beats still. Be still, my heart." Then it did that bit again with "Gild this glass heart before it breaks," and the female vocals, "An elegant orbit, two bodies as one. Gravitational caress, a waltz of fire to scorch the abyss." And around there was, the music sort of slowed right down and went into this sort of beautiful acoustic piece of music, where went slightly a bit into sort of Pink Floydish sort of psychedelic rock territory, where with the sound of the guitar and the actual riffs themselves, so they really change up the style of the music throughout the track. They do that throughout the album as well. There's so many different musical styles in this album that it's mind-boggling, and it's what makes it such a fantastic piece of work. But with that couple of lines, it's talking about like, "Your death will be the death of us both." So when the sun eventually dies, it will essentially be the end of it'll be the end of mankind. Humanity will die without the sun, and probably the rest of the solar system will also die as well. I mean, they do keep referring to it as life giver throughout the track, so essentially the sun is what gives life to this universe. Anyway, it carried on. Birthed into nowhere, ignorant of purpose, a howl erupts from this desolate rock, spiralling outwards, an echo through eternity, falling upon no ears, joining the choir of a million cries more, a plea for a spark to ignite the soul, a plea for love in all its vastness of it all. Did you hear my call? Life giver, surrender to me, burden me with your creations. Paint yourself across this dead space, illuminate colour where there was only grey. Plant your seeds in rotten soil, give yourself unto me fully. Power me completely, and your fading light will blanket my blossoming trees. Life giver, give life. Life giver, burn out. And those two lines are repeated a couple of times. And then it sort of went into its sort of first false ending, where it went back into a sort of beautiful acoustic piece of music, and then it came back in with harsh vocals saying, "You are my son," repeated over and over again. And then it went into another ending, which then came back in with a little bit of guitar and piano at the end, which then eventually sort of went away. And like I said, I absolutely love this piece of music. I think this band, they're not well enough known. Their musical talent it's phenomenal. These two guys are just amazing. I mean, one thing I have to say about this album is, these two guys, they did all of the music. They wrote all the music. They wrote the words, the lyrics, and everything like that. And they actually had a guest drummer to play on this album, which was Dan Presland of Ne Obliviscaris, a band I've covered quite a few times. Now, that is quite impressive, to have, a relatively unknown band to get the talents of somebody like Dan Presland from Ne Obliviscaris. That is impressive in and of itself. And the actual album itself was mixed by Linus Corneliusson, who's worked in the past with bands like Amorphis, Dark Tranquillity, Inuvite, Isan. The album was mastered by Tony Lindgren, who did mastering for Opeth, Catatonia, and Swallow the Sun. So there's quite a high pedigree of people involved in this album for a band that is very, very little known about them. And I think they definitely need more recognition from what I heard. I even went to their Bandcamp page, where you can actually get their previous album called, what is it called? Is it The Long Road Home? And there's also like a demo on their Bandcamp page and an EP as well. I think it's a 3-4 track EP. So you can listen to sort of how they progressed, like from the beginning, how they've progressed to where they are now, and it's definitely worth checking them out. I've sat and listened to this album alone, The Body Cosmic, several times because I just really enjoy it. Despite how fast and heavy it sounds, it's actually quite a good album to chill out to. Because for the most part, the album is instrumental. There's only 3 of the 9 tracks that actually have vocals to them, but that doesn't matter. It's not something you'd particularly notice because the music is just so good. You get so absorbed in it that it makes no difference whether there's vocals or not. And it is a fantastic piece of work. Like I said, it's about 9 tracks long. So yeah, and as I said before, there's so many different musical styles thrown in there. The vocal style at the beginning of that track was very reminiscent of Some All That Remains. Some of the musical elements were reminiscent of bands like Opeth, and there was, like I said, a little bit of sort of Pink Floyd-esque music thrown in there. And throughout the entire album, so many different changes. I couldn't list them all if I wanted to, because it's so fascinating. And the vocal styles, sometimes it goes into really sort of awesome black metal vocal styles, and other times it's more sort of well, I'm not going to say screamo, more sort of like grindcore sort of vocals, and it's really an absolutely astounding album. The band themselves, you can tell by the name Iapetus, whatever. The fact that the band is named after the 3rd largest natural satellite of Saturn. That they have this sort of fascination with the universe, and The Long Road Home also has similar themes to it as well. And they take a lot of this inspiration from the astronomer Carl Sagan. I believe I pronounced that right. And like I said, the album in itself is talking about the life cycle of the universe. The opening track is The Body Cosmic, and as I mentioned before, that's essentially the Big Bang, the creation of the universe. And then you've got the 8th track, the penultimate track, The Star of Collapse, which is talking about the end of the universe, the end of humanity, the death of the universe. And then you've got the final track, Angelus Novus, which is talking about the rebirth and the restart and beginning again of the universe. And that in itself, the track Angelus Novus, takes its name from a painting from a German Swiss artist called Paul Klee. And the track itself was inspired by comments that a philosopher, Walter Benjamin, had made about this painting. He'd spoken about this painting, made a sort of commentary on this piece of art, and that's what inspired the track. So they've spent a lot of time sort of studying this sort of thing. They've put a lot of thought into it. They haven't just sort of gone, well, this is something we've heard of, let's talk about it. They've actually studied it in depth to try and get a good understanding of what they're talking about, which is something not enough people do these days. And that really adds to the work that they've produced. It really comes across in their work that they've put this much effort into creating it. And the fact that this is just done by 2 people, 2 men have written this, it's unbelievable. It really is impressive. Like I said, the album The Body Cosmic comes out on the 9th of November. It's definitely worth checking out, and I would definitely suggest going and checking out their Bandcamp, where you can check out their back catalogue. Like I said, there's like a demo, there's an EP, and there's their previous album, The Long Road Home, on there. And it's just really good music. Like I say, I've listened to the entire collection of their music because I went and bought the back catalogue the moment I listened to The Body Cosmic, because I enjoyed it that much. And I've listened to all of their material over and over again several times because I enjoy it that much. So yeah, I highly recommend people go check it out. I really urge people to check them out, and then maybe follow them, support them in some sort of way, because I think they definitely need more recognition. It needs to get put out there, because this band are absolutely excellent. But I think I'll leave that as it is for the time being. If anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so by all means. Drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you could even message me through my Patreon, where you could also help to support the channel. Help me create future content, maybe even improve the quality of some of things going on in the background here. Make things look a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, a bit nicer, more in sort of fitting with the actual videos themselves. Do know though, if you do make a suggestion, it might take me a while to get around to it, since I get suggested so many new tracks every single day. My list grows faster than I can record them. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it will get done eventually. It's just going to take me a while to get around to it. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mostly those involving people of the alternative community, people who listen to alternative music or wear alternative fashion. And it's something I very strongly believe in, something I'm very, very passionate about, because it's something I've had to deal with for most of my life. Getting violently attacked, physically and verbally abused just because I have a different taste in music to the mass majority of people. And people are getting physically hurt. People are getting violently attacked, beaten so severely, sometimes they're even hospitalized just because of their taste in music. And it doesn't make any sense to me. It never has done. It's like, what is the purpose in doing what they're doing? Because beating 52 flavors out of somebody isn't going to suddenly change their mind. They're not going to suddenly start listening to Kanye West and wearing Burberry. It's not going to happen. So what is the point in doing it? The only real point in doing it is they're just trying to show off in front of their mates. They're trying to look big and hard in front of their mates. Look what I can do. I can beat up a goth. But that's the thing. It's never just one of them. Never is. These people will only ever attack in groups. If there's one metaler a lot on their own, you can guarantee if they get started on by normal people, there's always going to be two or more. Always. They never ever do it one-on-one. Because they're cowards. And they just want to show off in front of their mates. A normal person on their own might sort of walk past you and mumble, "Oh, God," under their breath. That's about the most they will do. They will never actually say something to your face unless A, they're in a moving car, B, in a group, or C, on the other side of the street so they can get away quickly. It's always that way, because they're cowards. But they think that it's an acceptable thing to violently attack people because of their taste in music, and it's stupid. Groups of people attacking a single solitary person just because they like a different type of music. What is the point? Why bother? I mean, you don't beat people up because they like different music and TV shows, different movies and TV shows, do you? So why do you beat them up because of their taste in music? It makes no sense. And the thing is, nobody's talking about this. It doesn't get spoken about enough because, like I said, people were getting severely hurt, but nobody ever mentions it unless a tragedy happens. You look at the Sophie Lancaster incident. Her and her boyfriend, Rob Maltby, were violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people. Again, set upon by a group, 2 people against 5 or 6. And they were beaten viciously. They were severely beaten. Both of them ended up in comas. And Sophie Lancaster was in a coma for 13 days before she died. Just because of her taste in music. Why? Why did they feel the need to murder this sweet, innocent girl just because she didn't fit into what they thought she should? She has every right to be who she wants to be. Everybody has the right to be who they want to be. Everybody has the right to be an individual. Not all of us want to be sheep. Some of us like to think for ourselves. And You know, it's unacceptable that this is happening, and it's unacceptable that it only gets spoken about when something like that happens. It shouldn't get that far. You know, other crimes like, you know, racism. You know, some privileged white girl complains that, like, a black family are having a picnic in a public space. It gets talked about. Someone gets, you know, discriminated against because they're disabled. It gets spoken about. Someone gets violently attacked because they listen to heavy metal music. Nothing is said. But it needs to be spoken about. And this is what Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring this, you know, they want to bring more attention to this. You know, they want to start a dialogue here where people start to realise just how much this is happening. Because, you know, since Sophie Lancaster's death, I can guarantee you that thousands of people from the alternative community have been violently attacked. You know, people have been physically, verbally assaulted since then, but no one knows about it because no one ever talks about it. You know, so you know, this needs to be brought more into the light. It needs to be spoken about. People need to realise the consequences of their actions. You know, attacking someone because of their taste in music is not acceptable. You know, just showing off to your mates because you think you're hard isn't an acceptable thing. You know, just violently attacking someone out of nowhere for no reason. You know, it's disgusting, it's pathetic, and, you know, this needs to be spoken about because, you know, the Sophie Lancaster Foundation want to make people more aware of this because they don't want to see another family go through what they went through. You know, they don't want to see another family suffer as they watch their child die from getting violently attacked for no reason. You know, and I think it's really important that this gets spoken about. If you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on, find out what their goal is, because they can explain it so much better than I can. And if you can help them in any small way, obviously you don't feel obliged to, but if you can help them in any small way, even if it's something like a small donation through their website or something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands that you can get from their web store, you know, it's greatly appreciated because the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we get more awareness of this happening, the sooner we can get more people talking about this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.